Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Decentralized Chain. It's Firoz bringing you all things blockchain. So in today's episode, we are going to be talking to the founder of YOP Yield Optimization Protocol, Atif, and it's a cracker of an episode today. We pretty much get down to the basics. We talk about what's happening in crypto. We talk about what's happening in the UK. We talk about COVID. We talk about what actually makes a good team, how working across remotely does have its challenges but also has its benefits. It really is a down-to-earth conversation of, I would say, the rawness of crypto, where we find our challenges and what needs to happen in order to bring on the everyday consumer, because that's what really, I believe, will excel crypto to newer heights. It's not just the technically savvy that are constantly in crypto. We also need to bring in the everyday consumer so they can also participate in this space in the easiest way possible, in the most frictionless way possible. And so with YOP, which is a yield optimization protocol, they are two forms. It's on one side a protocol, so it's kind of looking at yield and how you can best optimize that, and then on the other side it's also a platform not just designed for the technically savvy, but also designed for the novice user. And it's important because when we talk about yield farming, it's not a simple topic, because if you generally don't know what you're doing, you can lose a significant amount of your invested money within it. So, there is a need for a platform, for a protocol to support those who don't know this space well enough and ultimately handhold them through that process, because some may just have capital that want to invest, that they want to grow, and that's completely fine, and they don't want to think about the technicalities, the strategies that are involved in terms of taking your deposits from one place to another, lending it here, borrowing it there, then getting back your rewards. And this is what myself and Atif actually talk about in this episode. It's just trying to really break down the complexities that we have in crypto today. Now, secondly, it's all about growing the channel. If you find this type of content helpful, you're finding that it's certainly providing a bit of guidance in terms of navigating your way through crypto, then don't forget to hit the like button, certainly subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Now, on to the giveaway. Just like we've been doing for the last few episodes, we are going to be doing the biggest giveaway ever, $444 worth of crypto up for grabs. Let's break that down. There'll be 3 winners that will each win $111 in YOP tokens. There'll be a further 4 winners that will also draw, that will win a pool prize of $111 in USDT. So make sure you follow the instructions below in order to be able to enter for an opportunity to win that pool prize. And similarly, quite a few people might have clocked on or they may not have, you can enter both competitions. I run it on YouTube and I also run it on Twitter. And as you'll see in most of my announcement videos, I draw randomly from both platforms. So if you want to be in it to win it, then make sure you're on both social platforms and you're following the rules as they've been stated down below. So let's jump on in and speak to Atif and talk more about YOP. Atif, welcome to the show. Actually, what we were talking about before was you're actually one of the first people I've had from the UK on my show, actually. So that's a first for me.
Yeah. So we met in the Karma DAO group.
Yeah.
So thanks to Andrew for the connection, I guess.
Yeah.
And when I first came into the group, I was looking down the list. I was like, okay, let's see who's here from the London scene. This is like a bit of a strange thing. I've been in the crypto space for almost like about 4 years now. Yeah. And I've been to pretty much every big event, and I've done the full circuit from New York, San Fran, Hong Kong, all the big events. I used to meet the same people all the time. Oh, how you doing again? How you doing? But I never used to do anything in the UK. I rarely used to go to, I went to a few odd Ethereum events.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never really just, and I did a couple with a few guys in London. But yeah, it was just a bit strange that there is, but I think there is a big community in the UK.
No,
there's quite a lot.
There is. You're right. There is, because funny enough, there isn't many people in the UK that I genuinely speak to from a crypto perspective. Normally it has been just people that I've met over Telegram, whether it's in the US or in Europe somewhere. But it's But there is a UK scene, because recently I joined a couple of Telegram groups which are like London focused groups as well, because obviously I'm from London myself. And it's interesting because there's quite a few of us, but there doesn't seem to be that many in terms of meetups and gatherings.
Just pockets of their own people, and every now and then you find a project that comes up, and you look and they're registered in the UK, and they're actually, some of the founders are based here, but again, there's a bit of a disconnect. It seems like projects launch in the UK and then they suddenly go international. They don't look back, and but so hopefully with YOP being based in the UK and our primary investors being from the London Stock Exchange investment company, this will hopefully drive a bit more kind of grounded project into the UK, and I'd love to get more people involved. So this is why I've got a whole list of interviews to do for YOP, and when you sent me a message, I was like, okay, you know what, I really want to do this because this guy's from the UK, and it'd be nice to just start with somebody from the UK rather than going with one of the bigger names. I mean, there's all sorts. It's not always about
exactly. Because one of the questions that I can actually genuinely ask is, without breaking half the stuff on my desk, is we collectively have just come out of a lockdown. I can't really talk about that to many people because there's various lockdowns going on across the globe, but for us,
so it's been a weird. I mean, I was just looking now, this year has gone so fast. It's unbelievable. It's, beginning of the year, we was in every year I go to Davos January, the World Economic Forum, and there was a little bit of a hint of the virus there, and there's a small talk but nothing big. And a lot of people after got ill, there was all sending messages in the groups. And come middle of Feb, I was in Qatar and I came back and I got really badly ill. And I think, I don't know, what happened there, but, and from there, a few weeks later, it was all like big, it's just exploded kind of thing. Everybody was like lockdowns and all sorts happened, and that's March. And then now I look at it, we're in December, and
it's crazy, right?
Yeah, the year's gone. So the UK seems in this strange. It's like lockdown, but it's not lockdown. And then there's these tier systems that we have. They're not. I'm not really sure about them. I just came back from town now, and. There's a lot of activity, and I'm thinking, I don't know. You just don't know where to do. Can I be here? Can I not? Can I mix? You go into a restaurant, you don't really wear a mask. Then you go into a newsagent for a bottle of water, and the guy looks at you like, "Why you not got your mask on?"
You have to go
on, off.
Everyone's. I mean, this whole tier system we have in the UK at the moment. I mean, everyone's doing what they feel. I'll be honest. As in. We should be in tier 2. We should be doing. We should be staying locked down. But you just got to look down the street. I mean, I think I was looking on TikTok yesterday, just a bit of mindless time passing, and somebody was filming out in central London, and there was some sort of random car show. Everyone was all souped up cars, turbos going off, popping, everything. And I was like, what on earth is going on? Everyone was all over the place. Everyone's with their phones zooming in at the wheels and just brushing up against people. And I was just like. Seriously,
like I said, I just came back from Central, and it's full, traffic jams and everything. So I don't know. I mean, I hope that we're kind of now getting to the tail end of this, and coming into next year, things ease up a bit. I mean, there's talks about vaccines and all sorts, whatever. I don't know what's going to happen.
There's about a batch of 800,000 coming in from Pfizer this week, actually. So,
that's but I mean, considering the UK, struggle to test. How many people we've tested today. I don't know how they're going to get the vaccines out, but hopefully next year will be, I think, a little bit easier, but I'm kind of half still writing it off to return back to the normal reality. And then, so, when you think about it like that, it's 2022. It sounds like, quite, if somebody said to you 2019 that, you're going to have this patch in the middle, and 2022, you're going to return to normality. Let's see how it goes. But, everything's still going on. Show goes on, kind of thing.
No, exactly.
And,
exactly.
We started in the midst of this, and one of the things I looked at early on was, so how am I going to structure the company and the team? We're not going to go down the traditional route of having an office. I mean, I think offices are finished. This idea of getting everybody in at 9 o'clock and putting them at a desk and then sending them home. That kind of model
completely. I mean, as I was saying before, I started with a new firm about 8 months ago, and I must have been in, and we've got a lovely office in just opposite St Paul's Cathedral. Great view, and I must have been in the office like 4 times, and since then it's been, it's about 7-8 months on. Haven't stepped foot in the office once, and actually they don't need you there either. That's the other thing. I mean, I think people have got used to working in such a agile way. Being able to, you got your Zooms and you got your teleconference solutions and you got your web sharings, and a lot of this stuff is free to use as well at the same time. So, I think we are moving into a more of a remote style working. Even after COVID's finished, I think we are going to be in this type of work situation.
It's accelerated that transition from kind of the office-based project company to kind of what we crypto people love, right? A decentralized team.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how we've approached YOP. We've got people in Germany, we've got people in Ukraine, India, New York, Philippines, Hong Kong. We've really tapped into different talent in different places. Some people that I've worked with before, some are new. But generally bringing them all together and setting the project up in, and using like online tools like Asana and these things, like I said, you've got Zoom calls, you've got all these kind of tools that make this so easy. You kind of start thinking that, why didn't we do this earlier? This actually works really well. And I find when you give team members and just generally people that you work with, if you give them a bit more space, they're actually more productive rather than squeezing them in and saying, I mean, sometimes when we need something turned around fast, it's like, okay, pressure's on, quick, can you get this out? But generally, if you have a bit of space to work with, it's a bit more communal based, office relationship rather than being corporate environment. And I've never been a fan really of that corporate environment. I've never really been deep in the corporate world. And the kind of the politics that come with it, and I've never enjoyed it. So I think this is a fantastic way to grow a new project, and even existing companies to transition into this model. It works really well.
So I mean, talking about new projects, let's talk about YOP. I mean, we've dropped the name a few times, but yield optimization protocol, right? I mean, what's it about? So, what are we doing here exactly?
YOP is a twofold solution. So YOP is a yield optimization platform and a yield optimization protocol, and the project is split into 2 areas.
Okay.
One is the mobile app first. There will be a web version and a desktop version with a tablet version to follow, but primarily came out of frustration of user experience, interfaces, and just like I said, I've been around in the space for a little while, and I've been looking at things, how they get valued, and I'm seeing like user base grow, but I'm seeing this side of the front end development has been very, very poor. I think primarily it's the reason behind it has always been that if you look at most projects, they're led by developers. They're led by technical guys who are they're absolutely amazing individuals, super capable. They know exactly what they're doing, but they miss a commercial element. The reference point I use most is the recent drama that we had around sushi, right? During the kind of DeFi initial craze a few months back. But if that was handled in a commercial manner, that project, I believe, could have been huge, but because of X amount of YZ issues, right, it kind of like fell apart and then had to be recovered. And you can recover them, but once you've had that kind of damage done, it's a lack of commercial leadership and business experience in the space that also leads to unexpected delays. We're going to ship code, we're not going to ship code, we're going to ship, we're going to launch, we're not going to launch, and this kind of goes on. If that was a kind of a business, the management would get fired and be like, no, mate, you guys are out.
I agree. I agree.
Deliver, and you've delayed it. Okay, you delayed it once, you delayed it twice. With 2 years later, and you're telling us that you're going to delay it another year. It just, and the other thing that accelerates that on top is that the value and the incentivization kind of dies when projects receive vast amount of funding right at the front.
Yeah.
And when you're kind of pre-rewarded in one sense, in if you want to connect that to a pre-win, I guess, right? And you have access to all this treasury, the motivation is part of it's gone, because generally startups thrive on one, the product that they're building. They love the product and they have a kind of an attachment to what they're building, but two is a financial motivation, right? They know that if they get this thing right, this project could become a multi-million-dollar or multi-billion-dollar company. But if your project's already got 15-20 million dollars in the bank and you haven't even started your first development stage, where does the motivation come from?
You get complacent, right? There's complexity in there.
Yeah, you end up with these very technical and complicated interfaces and experience. And the new guy comes on and he looks at it, he says, "Blimey, what's going on here? This looks like Windows 95." A few people said that to me. I tell them, let's get into this DeFi thing. But so that's where the platform came along. And then on the side of that, we looked at the protocols within the DeFi space, and we see them all as kind of single trick ponies, apart from like Yearn, who's now, I think, looking outside the box. And I think Andrea made that statement. He said, realize that, as an aggregator, we're not just going to be able to, take all the market. We need an AMM. We need insurance, we need, lending markets, we need all of that integrated. And that pie is absolutely enormous. So we at YOP are developing a protocol that will customize all of those parameters. At the beginning, we're kind of like an aggregator of aggregators, but we want to develop into, quote unquote, the super protocol of DeFi. And then with a outstanding platform that actually works, that you can use, it does what it does on the tin. That's how we kind of got around to the point where we say that YOP is akin to Robinhood for DeFi. And that's what we're building.
It's interesting because I think earlier you mentioned a point where you said, you said mobile first, right? And I think it's really key that it is a mobile first driven project. I do a lot of work within UX and UI space, and one of the prime drivers that we have before we develop anything for whether it's desktop or whether it's tablet view, it's mobile first, right? If you get the mobile first right, you give them exactly everything they need.
Yeah, exactly.
From a minimum perspective, everything they need just to get it done, right? It's straightforward and it's easy. And with that approach first, then you can bolt on the additional advanced settings, drop down, whatever else you want to put on from a desktop and tablet perspective. And that's really handy. And the other thing that you mentioned earlier, which I thought was, it's key and we need it, right? And you're right. If you have a look at crypto today, a lot of it is dev driven, right? It's technology driven. It's, I've seen a new protocol to do this, or I found a way to, improve layer 2 transaction speeds. Whatever it may well be, it is technically driven. And yes, it needs to be, and they're intelligent guys like you said, but what is missing actually is for everyday people, your everyday consumer that wants to get into crypto, that wants to buy their first bit of Bitcoin, or that wants to actually, have come across the yield farms and, their friends have said, wow, the APY on this is like 1,200%. And when people who don't know much about crypto hear about that, they think, oh shit, I've got like £100, £200, maybe £1,000 sitting in my bank. If I could get 1,000% APY, considering the banks at the moment are only giving you like 0.01% just because of or negative, right? In some regards, it's like I want to get involved, and I would say even for someone like me who I'd like to say I'm fairly competent within this space. Yield farming, I didn't really get my head around. I'll be honest. I read quite a lot, and I was thinking, right, okay, so what happens if I actually put some of the, do I put stablecoin in? Do I have to then put Ether in? Oh shit! Then what happens with the impermanent loss? How do I, what happens? I don't want to lose my Ether at the end of the day.
Connect this, you connect that,
and there you go, right? And it becomes complicated unless you're technically minded or you have an inkling of how all of this works and willing to put the time in and read it. Everyday Tom, Dick, and Harry isn't going to know.
Yeah, that's it. That is the challenge. And I remember somebody saying to me a few years back, look, the biggest companies in the world today, especially if you look at the tech space, right? They don't necessarily have the best product, but it's how they present it is the reason they are where they are. And the biggest example of that is Apple, right? Apple is this, huge multi-trillion-dollar company now because it presents the way it presents, and it makes when I switched from Windows to Apple, and we have this argument with my all the time. John's about, I don't want to start that right now, but when I switched, it was that simple thing, the user experience was amazing. I was like, what's Windows been doing all these years? This is like so easy. You drag there, drop there, it's kind of on the Linux system. And I was like, this really works. And and this is the moment that I'm thinking, we're in the crypto space. People, the tech heads believe that no, the tech will win. I agree. The tech will win in terms of the underlying fundamentals of it. I believe that we will see a huge shift, and we'll see trillions of dollars of capital come into this space, and they will be stored in this space. But you cannot expect, the average user to go through all of this technical terminology and force them to kind of understand it. Okay, the bare basics, a public key, a private key, fine, we can get them around that, because we want to stay custodial. This is a choice we made early on in YOP. Do we go, custodial or do we non-custodial? We want the user to control the funds. We don't want to become an alternative to BlockFi or Barclays Bank. We want to be, the user controls their funds. And when they need those funds, they hit one button, they hit the gas basically, and they come out of that. They don't get an error. Like, this is another thing. Like, some of the biggest exchanges today in this space, right? Again, multi-billion-dollar valuations. The market moves, they crash.
Yeah.
And it's not once. It happens again and again.
It's multiple times.
And how can you accept that as an industry standard? It's not. It's a shame. And what it does is the people on the outside space, they look at it and this can't be right. You don't see that happening with the large corporate financial companies, right? So, and this is why we, early on, we didn't really have a plan to take institutional investment at the beginning, but then we were approached by Pira's Investments PLC, and they really liked the project. And I was like, okay, we'll see how it goes. And we started the paper because it was a bit of a, drag, because they have to do so much due diligence. They're a public company, right? They have to go through all the processes. Can you really build what you're saying you're going to build? What are you actually doing? And in the end, it was a good process because it kind of raises our bar a bit, and now we're set ourselves a little bit apart from the competition. But that space has a standard, right? And I think we should kind of rise up to that standard. And I think we should, we have the capital, we have the resource, we have everything within this space to rise up to that level. But for some reason, whatever or not, nobody's ever done it. There's few people kind of doing it now. I've seen a shift, more recently, like people starting to talk front end, UX, UI. These words are starting to get thrown around a little bit. I mean, some places they say UX, UI, I go to their, website and look at their designs and they're like, whoa, they just, because this is a crypto thing, right? Whichever word becomes hot, everybody, like these days, the hot word is like, value add, strategic partner, right? Everybody keeps saying, we're value add. And I'll look at them. It's like, sorry, mate, but I don't see the value, with all due respect. I'd love to onboard you guys, but I don't see no value in, so after we announced, we had like this huge, kind of flurry of investment offers, and people coming, take our money, because they want to be part of YOP now, right? But I'm struggling to see the value because I'm saying, really, are you going to grow with us? And do you understand the vision of this? I want to, start this project with the intention of, building it into a unicorn. And I think it's possible if we go down the right route, with the platform and with the protocol and with the amount of growth left in DeFi. We're very, very early in local finance, because I think traditional finance will eventually merge, and there will be some melting point where kind of the both spaces overlap. So if they can only see the kind of the 10x, 20x vision, as some of the in the space do, we don't really want that dollar input. What we really want, and we've had some of these conversations, and they turn around and say to us, we really see this as an opportunity to build the Robin Hood of DeFi. Let's do it together and let's grow this. And it might take 1 year, it might take 2 years, it might take 3 years, wherever, however long it takes us. But, once you see the vision and once you see the opportunity that's there, really, I mean, I kind of get excited myself about like,
well, it's always good to see a founder excited, right? At the end of the day.
And I'll buy my own project. I'll invest more of my own, I mean, I started the project without even, worrying about that. I just started spending money at the beginning. As soon as like the idea was clear in my head, I was like, doesn't matter if the fundraising comes in, I'm going to just start with my own money and I'm going to get this stuff going. And then, we're here now where we are. And we're kind of pretty much at our cap. We're just doing like a few selective transactions with the real value add, for the word, and then we'll kind of launch our token in early Jan.
I mean, it is. I mean, there are. I've worked with. Well, I say I worked. I've talked to quite a few projects, and what I've noticed certainly in the last 2 or 3 interviews that I've done, there has been a shift. I've noticed that there are a lot more people looking at UI and UX now. There are more people looking at usability of a platform versus what it can do, and I think this is great, and I think we need more of that, and I think we're at the start of something like this, because you're right on what you've said. There are some. And I'm not taking a dig at devs at the end of the day, because they kind of see the world slightly differently. They see it as the task that needs to be done, and I've given you the steps or the UI in order to do that. But it's not that straightforward, because they're thinking more in a technical way, in a step-by-step process. And interestingly enough, there was a project that came. Well, not a project, but there's a well-known person within the crypto space, and they've recently implemented a UI on top of their platform. So our UX is great, and I had a look at it and I was just like, what on earth is going on here? Why does it look so retro? And that's the other thing that bugs me, actually. It does bug me, and it's going to be interesting, because I'm going to be interviewing another project in in the future where they focus on retro. But that's fine. That's neither here nor there. But it does bug me when we have platforms that are retro. I don't get it at all. It really grates at me when I see a retro platform and you want to go in and you're like, okay, I want to go. You know what? I'll give a prime example. Curve, right? The Curve platform. I don't get
Nobody
it.
understands.
I don't get it.
Nobody understands what's going on with Curve.
It's great. It's great. Don't get me wrong. But when I look at it and I'm thinking, why does this thing look like a Bloomberg terminal or a Reuters trading terminal? It just blows my mind. It really does. It's still usable nonetheless. But really,
I think retro can be done, but it's there's always a limit, right? This is the thing, you have to bear the bigger customer in mind. But when you're only building a product for people who are technically capable and they understand all your terminology, like most of the sites within the DeFi space, when you go onto them, right, the only prompt they'll give you is connect your wallet.
That's it. Yeah, connect your MetaMask wallet, and that's it.
So this now when I see connect your wallet, the first thing I just press X. It's absolutely amazing that. So I have to. You're assuming that I know exactly what to do straight away. There's no, you have a small little circle with the I button, right? There's none of that either.
No, exactly.
Let alone any user manual or FAQ, nothing. It just literally, hello, welcome to our site. We have $3 billion of locked value, so there's FOMO to participate, right? Yeah. And I'm like, I want to get in as well. But it just says connect your wallet, that's it. And if you can't connect your wallet, see you later, sorry.
Exactly.
It's like what wallet? Connect your wallet. So that was one of the first things I said, I said, look, I do not want, in the application when we're building it, I do not want like those 15 prompts that you have to press, yes. I want the user to be able to say, I'm swapping from ETH to USDT, confirm, let me know when it's in my wallet. That's it. Don't give me these multiple prompts, like now authorize my wallet, now do this to my wallet, now do this to my wallet. If I'm authorizing you and I've agreed this is what I want, just give it to me, please. Don't make me jump through all these hoops. And so, I mean, it's strange. It is what it is. But if we want to bring in, if I want to go to a financial brokerage, in London, the ones that we're in discussions with, and I say to them, oh, by the way, you got 100,000 customers. Can you send me 1,000? Just to test 15,000, 10,000, whatever. Right? They're going to have somebody like you, very capable on their side, right? Who has high industry standards. They're going to okay, let's do a tech review first, right? They're going to open it up. Wait, no, sorry, we can't use this. We can't expect our users to do that. No way. They're used to opening an application, telling them exactly, helping them along the way, easy to use, support, everything. That's what they're used to. And that's the industry standard. That's how mobile has become almost bigger than web, Like you mentioned earlier, now when you're building, you start with mobile first rather than going the other way around, That was the old approach where you build web first and then you say, oh, our web is really big now, let's build mobile.
And it's tougher. It's tougher to do it in reverse. Actually, if you go full bang, it's really tough to then say, what do we strip out to show what they just need? Whereas if you did the other way around, it makes a more intuitive platform. It's interesting you say that, because even when you look at Barclays Bank, for example, I haven't seen the stats recently, but when I was sort of working on a recent project, the usage on their mobile banking app is greater than anything else that they have. So you get more usage on banking than you do over your traditional stores, bricks and mortar stores that you go in. There's more use on mobile banking than there is on the website. It's very rare that I actually go on the Barclays website unless I'm trying to do a few fiddly things with it. Other than that, to be honest, whenever I manage my finances, I just do it all the way through the app every single time. Wherever it needs to go, always app first. So
their app actually works better than their web.
Yeah, exactly. I will agree to that one.
I mean, being in the UK, I know about Barclays, and I can say that some reason their website is got a load of tech problems. I mean, it's got some errors and all the time, but the app actually works better. So whoever the app team is at Barclays, well done, and the web team is left behind. And I guess, but that proves to you, right, that
it does.
The effort, even from a huge financial institute like Barclays, the effort is in the mobile, right? I mean, whether they're aware of it internally and they're going to address it, but the focus is, look, we know we've got problems on our website, but hold on, resource is all towards the app because we know our users are using the app and that's where the growth is. So let's fix the website next week, but let's fix the app today and make sure that it's working.
Exactly.
It's just where the growth is. And if you look at the demographics of people who are coming into digital economy, right? All these millennials and all the younger people, they are not going to go to the web. They want everything in their phone and they want it on the app. If you tell them that you've got 500 euros, you can bring it into this DeFi space, deposit it, start earning yield, start playing around with these tokens, and you could do it right now as I talk to you on your phone. They'll do it. If you tell them go to a website, you're going to be prompted with Connect Wallet. They're going to run.
Actually, but that's the interesting part. There is that when you go to some of those, when I was using my phone the other day, I was like, let me just go and. It was something that I read in a Telegram community where if I had so many Uniswap tokens, whatnot, then I can go and claim some other tokens. So I thought, cool, let me go and check that out. And then I went to the site and then it said Connect Wallet. And I was like, for God's sake, I'm on my mobile. Like, how am I supposed to connect wallets? Then I didn't bother me too much because I can jump onto my PC and do it. But you're right, Connect Wallet, how do you connect Wallet? Especially
I mean, look, MetaMask has I think million active users, they say now. It only came to mobile this year. I mean, it's like amazing. I mean, it took them that long. I mean, and that's because everybody within the crypto space was happy with that little fox in the top of your browser, and they're using it and they're carrying on with it. And now, okay, fine, they've made loads of good progress, and it syncs with your desktop wallet, and that's what you want, right? So when you're out and about, okay, I've got some, ETH in my MetaMask, I can quickly send it to somebody, they need some money, whatever. That's the whole point of crypto, right? It's supposed to be frictionless peer-to-peer transaction of financial economy, right? Of money. That's the bottom kind of selling point of crypto from day one. That's what I understood, right? And that's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is kind of the first decentralized finance protocol within the crypto space, right? And if we make it so complicated for people, or we develop protocols that need so many technical steps to interact with, they're not going to be hugely successful. Some of these protocols have amazing underlying tech, but unfortunately they don't have the front end for it. And even their protocols, like I said, this is something I think also happens within the crypto space. They build one product and they focus on that one product so much they forget that there's a bigger market. If I was an AMM today and I built, one of the bigger AMMs within the crypto space, the first thing I would be looking at is I need to add more financial products into my platform, because this space is going to grow and I want to grow with it, rather than letting other people do that. So this is, again, going back to YOP's protocol, we see that as an opportunity, and, we might not be able to develop it today, we might not be able to develop it immediately, but I think, we're on the right track. Our research is on the right track. Our development is on the right track from the beginning. And, where you kind of start from always makes a big difference of where you, kind of end up. It's, I think, is a huge opportunity.
So, I mean, talking about development, let's talk a bit about your roadmap. I mean, what's on the horizon for YOP exactly now?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, we've been in development for a few months. Our first version is the mobile app. I think we'll have alpha internal testing sometime in January, and we've put on the roadmap Q1 is our first version, and within that, we want our first products to be functional at some base level at least. And the 5 product lines are, access to DeFi markets, access to swap decks to swap your tokens, your wallet within the app, market data, and then your customizable dashboard. So those 5 main basic products will be live in our first version within Q1 next year, and we're aiming from that around mid of Feb. Depending on any delays or any COVID mishaps, hopefully we're kind of protected from that at the moment. But even within the team, still there's sometimes happens, family situations and things, lockdowns in certain locations, they can't get around or do work and stuff. But generally, development's on track for that, and that's when we launch. And then the idea with the development and the roadmap is to launch again, thinking of the customers first, to launch a more simple version first, to get our flow right, of how the customers engage with us, what's the friction points, where are users finding it difficult, how many seconds are they spending on which page, and kind of really understand our customer, right? What's happening with the data, and look at that, and then from there start to introduce more and more kind of advanced products within the application. And ultimately we want to capture both markets. We want to have the novice simple user who says, all I want to do is deposit my ETH and USDT and collect fees from a liquidity pool. I've got low risk appetite. It's quite a safe thing. There's an AMM with $2-3 billion of liquidity, so I'm quite safe there. I'll leave my funds there. Or you've got somebody who's really going for the APYs, and some people are chasing these like 500, 800%, 1,000, some of the crazy numbers that you never imagined in the world, right? So some people are chasing that, and these are the high risk traders. We provide solution for them as well, and we want to have customizable parameters. So we're looking at like emergency buttons to get your funds out, panic buttons, kind of things, customizations, and how we can put our token in relationship to the token that they're farming. So if they're farming a token, we market sell that and reward them in the YOP token. So they build up their YOP stash rather than building up a third-party token stash. And just to give kind of more value ultimately around, the user being on the platform.
So, I mean, that's, and we touched on development earlier. So you mentioned that the raise, you've done raising now, you finished raising. What can you share about raise details exactly? Yeah,
so our cap, we I looked at, again at the beginning, like, do we go for a multi-million-dollar raise? Do we, the money really is there in the crypto space, right? Once you want to tap into it and you have a good project which is sound and vetted, the money is available. But I kind of purposely kept it small because I want to, raise a small amount, build a product, deliver a product, and show to the users that, look, this is what we're about, this is what we built. And then from there, go for the kind of like bigger raise later on, So our initial market cap is, or our raise is 533K.
Okay.
But from that, we have a chunk locked. So that's reduced down to around 380K. And then add in the liquidity will be sub 400K on our first day of token launch.
Okay.
And from the 530K, we've pretty much raised about, we've got about 100K left. Out of that, we've got 2 allocations of 50K each, and out of those, there's very small amounts left. So we're getting offers for like, can I have 100K? Can I have 50K? Can I have 120K? And we're like, can we give you 2K?
You know what? You're right.
It's good. It's good. But it's a good position to be in. And I've seen projects before, right? This happen, and they start getting, oh, you know what? Why don't we just raise the cap? And I've seen this happen, and
of course,
it's this stuff happens in crypto, right? People saying, we can really right now, like, if I do a tally, I think we could probably raise about 1.5, 1.6 million, and then they kind of suddenly, you see the hard cap one day, and then the next day it suddenly jumps. And we're not doing none of this soft hard. We need 500K to deliver this first version, and we have a little bit runway after that. That's what we need. That's what we're collecting. Even the investment company from London, they normally do much bigger rounds, $1 million. So for them, even, it was tight. But we've tried to keep everybody happy, and we'll do like a small amount with some token launch platform where we get the crowd involved. And early Jan we'll list the token and we'll get it out.
It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But it's interesting you touched on that, because if I kind of go back to 2017, from the groups that I've been in, they could easily go up and you could easily go and ask an ICO at the time, I want 100k or I want to put in a 50k. Those who were connected, influencers, etc. You get it at the you just got to ask, and he was just there.
Yeah.
And you're right. Now when I look at it, projects are being a bit more careful in terms of how much they're raising for starters, because it's a different landscape, right? Back then they were raising millions, and for what? Half the time it was vaporware, the other time it was like you've raised more than you need, you've put something out there, and then you said, all right, it's decentralized, it's with the community now, and the community will take care of it and run it. And things like that really they really frustrate me, because it's just a grab at that point. And then more recent, as just like you said as well, I've come across various projects where I've spoken with them in the background, and they've always said, look, there's crypto, there's no shortage of money, there really isn't. If you've got something out there and people can see that you're a bit of a differentiator, and ultimately you're changing something for the better, there's money there. People will chuck it at you. But now I've seen, we don't want, we've got 100k left, but I don't want to give you 50k. Can I give you 1k? Can I give you 2k?
Yeah.
Because we want more variety of individuals involved. We want more value, not just purely, we're not after money anymore. It's it's a different game. I say game, but it's a completely different scene now in terms of what's coming out of crypto, and I think that's for the better as well, overall, because it kind of just shows that the mindset has changed. It's shifted from the ICO mania days to let's actually build products of value, and DeFi has been a big trigger to that as well, in most recent times.
Yeah, this is it. So I mean, there will still be always the kind of bad actors or the money grabs or whatever happens, but generally that is healthy for the space, and I think it's a good thing that it's shifted that way. We have better kind of token distribution, we have more value kind of in terms of the projects, and generally the standard is coming up. People are starting to prepare. Before you could kind of like we've still seen it to this kind of like little phase where you just put a website, they raise the funds, but I mean, even I think the individual investors are becoming a bit more savvy. They'll read into projects, they'll look at things, they'll do a little bit more due diligence, and see, and that's just better for the space, right? Because it will drive better innovation, it'll be more competitive market, and because the capital is there, we know that there's plenty of money flowing within the crypto space. Hopefully, the best projects now rise to the top. And then from that, people support the best projects rather than just supporting a project because they invested in a token to speculate.
Yeah, there's a quick flip, basically.
It's we're moving to that true utility thing. And there are still quick flip VCs, within the space. There's
of course. There are
VCs that have modeled on making vast amounts of money because they've mastered the kind of like whole model of throw in X, pump the project, promote it this way, and out and on to the next one. But there are also, even in the VC space within the crypto area, even amongst them, I think I'm seeing a lot more improvement, and they're kind of raising their game. They're becoming a lot better at their kind of internal governance and how they manage their funds. They're bringing in some experts from the traditional markets, and they're really starting to invest how longer term investments should be done, right? It's not a 6-month game anymore. You're looking at 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. Let's see what your 3-year outlook is, and let's see where we can take this project. And if you give it that kind of time and you work like that, you're going to get much better products.
Talking about products, and you touched on token earlier. Actually, I'm curious, what does the YOP token actually do for the platform? Yeah,
so initially we want to operate on a freemium service. So the kind of base user can come in and use the basic services, but then we want to start locking up the tokens into the service access for the platform, and then within that we'll tier it. So some basic level services you can lock up X amount of tokens, and you can add more tokens for that. But the primary function for having the token is to really power our underlying protocol, and within that comes the governance, interacting with other contracts, and like I mentioned earlier, trying to create value. And we have like a whole economic study on this going on, and net, the token at the moment, our projection is it being net deflationary, because as our users grow, the token's taken out of circulation from the market. But within that, we're looking at programs of, if people are mining other tokens, then within our own protocol, it allows them to sell that token and switch it to YOP token, so that they can hold more YOP token within the wallets, right? And just exploring ideas of how we can add more value, not through speculation, but through functionality. And governance is obviously always a big one in that. So voting proposals and how they participate, but even within governance of the tokens and the ones that we see right now. So most DeFi tokens generally at the moment have been, governance tokens. If you ask kind of a one-word answer from some of the leading DeFi projects, right? Governance. What's your token there? It's a governance token. Okay, so why is it valued so much, right? But, I mean, and it's really interesting because some governance tokens just have kind of a price chart, which just goes straight down, right? And then the other ones are total opposite. So, and we're studying all of this at the moment, and we looked at all of, we lined up all the protocols, we looked at all their token economics, and we're looking at, okay, so what's driving the value in this token one, in terms of, value appreciation, but what's the true functionality? And when you really come down to it, there isn't much more functionality apart from the governance. There are some other smart mechanisms of reward distribution. Definitely we want to incorporate some element of a token burn, or where we collect fees and redistribute to the audience. I think a burn function in that generally works better, because you at the same time you're reducing supply rather than, if you start giving too many free tokens back to the users, they end up back on the market, and then you have still pressure. So token burn model is really good. I think the Binance model has always been really good for their token model like that. But so all of those structures are being incorporated. We're almost done with our token economics final paper that kind of talks in detail about that. But there is a post on Medium about our token if you want to read a little bit more about what the token does. And along with that, there will be more details about the protocol as well, and where we go into comparisons. So we've done like a competitive analysis against platforms, but we haven't publicly published anything against the other protocols. But that we'll do, because largely we see that as the longer term, the bigger value, I think. I mean, maybe or maybe not even. I mean, within the crypto space, definitely the larger value is from the protocols, right? Or from the YOP protocol becoming a super protocol within the DeFi. Right? That's probably the larger value. But then, 2 million plus users, I think the larger value then starts to tilt towards the platform. So we'll see. It's interesting, I guess, because the development is equally weighted, but it might be that with less development on one side, the other side kind of takes over and actually creates more value for the project. But either way, we're committed to deliver what we want to deliver. But the token will definitely be a kind of fundamental part of the application and the functionality, because being non-custodial, right, it has to have a core function in it. If we were kind of a custodial wallet, it wouldn't really make sense to have a token, because we wouldn't have no functions in there. But
almost a central service, right? If you see it that way.
So this terminology of CeFi within DeFi, I don't really understand. But
so, I mean, we touched on it earlier as well. Actually, governance for me, normally when we say governance, it has a strong connection to community, because ultimately the idea is that the community govern the development, or which way potentially, or steer it to a certain way that the community want to head towards for any given project in crypto. And that's kind of where that's my view of what governance is normally. And so, talking more on governance, what's the community like for you exactly? I mean, what's your community strategy here?
Like you said, for us, this is why our core base and our initial launch phase and our initial efforts are primarily focused around the community. Because without an active and an engaged community, a real community, right? Real users, and even the word users, I don't really like that that word. I'd rather have them as community members
Mm.
or participants, right? Users is a bit of a loose term, and it's got a bit of a history. You can go do some research on it afterwards, but how kind of it's more temporal,
Yeah.
and it's more closely associated, if I think to my mind, as in a bit of somebody being used, rather than being part of the platform. So our participants in the YOP platform, we want them to be part of the project, right? And the biggest way they can be part of the project is, first, obviously they'll be token holders, and two, they can give us that valuable feedback. They can be part of the journey where we do surveys with them, we keep their kind of door open to them. They can, even right now, I mean, some of them, they send a DM like, okay, we think, can you, what about this, what about this? I think the projects and the founders and the team alike have to be very, very receptive to their community. The ones that do, I think they succeed a lot, and they make a much bigger success of their projects. Some, I think they start off like that, but then it suddenly goes a bit of a different way. I mean, I'm not sure if that's because of dollar value or whether it's just difficulties in keeping up. But for us, it's very important that we keep to that. So is a 1 year's time, if I'm ignoring somebody's DM, just pull up this video and
I'll always be the first to pull someone up on that. So
it's very important to us. We want to drive the value from that. And likewise, and this is something I think we can showcase to the outside world. Where the communities. There was I think Jacob, right, the other day he did a presentation on communities. And it's fascinating, about building communities, growing them, keeping them together. So there's a whole study of how that works, right? And I think the crypto community is absolutely amazing. Globally, when you look at communities. And I've traveled a lot, pretty much every continent, right? And you go to different countries, different cultures. The crypto community is amazing. There's really, generally, I mean, there is some elements, I would say, still, but generally on the wider scale in the crypto space, very kind of small amount of discrimination, very small amount of geographic kind of unlevel kind of playing field. Uniswap was an amazing story of that, right? From overnight distributing their token, from the US all the way to kind of the Philippines. Look at the kind of different amount of users that they have, the impact it's had on people's lives. And I think ultimately, DeFi should be a tool for impact, right? It should be a tool to level the playing field. This is where we can start looking at UBI and other things, and microfinance, and how we can really use YOP or these tools that we're building to level the playing field, where we have somebody with $500,000 and we have somebody with $50, but they're treated the same way. And that's not the case in our traditional financial system. So that's something I think is very important for us from the crypto space to take to the traditional markets when we take them, right? This is what we have, and this is what we cherish as a space, as an industry, and we want to protect that as much as we can. I mean, crypto Twitter and the forums, Telegram is amazing. The little space that we have here is, I think, hugely valuable. And a lot of people that come into crypto, I think that's what kind of gets them on. It's this open space. You can kind of interact with everybody. Generally, it's quite accessible. It's not, if you look into a corporate environment within any industry, right? Furnishings or automobiles or FMCG or anything, right? The corporate structures are very, very rigid, and it's very difficult to reach certain people. I think in the crypto space, it's not really like that. It's quite easy, level playing field.
It's very flat.
If you go to Ethereum developer conference, you could just walk up to Vitalik. You can walk up to, like the new person who's never had Ethereum, just bought his first one ETH. It's all quite easy and easygoing and laid back. And I think that culture and that, kind of community is important to carry over. So definitely would be an integral part. And one of the kind of my kind of like features that I really like is within the YOP application is having an open chat box, so an opening messaging service. So anybody who's online who's got the YOP app open, they can just go in there and just talk. to each other, so
I
they can
think that's
share
really key.
ideas,
Yeah.
and from that, hopefully, we build a core community within the application.
Yes.
Rather than if you've got a problem, you go offline or you open a ticket or you send a message. Let's just talk about it here. Let's let each other help out. Somebody might be, I'm trying to access this DeFi contract. It's not going through. Somebody else is sat halfway around the world, jumps in and says, yeah, okay, this, and I think it'll be nice to bring a little bit of, I guess, what that Telegram feeling within the community space is within the app, so that people who are using the application, they feel like they're part of something here. They're part
something
of
bigger. No, it's interesting you've said that. So I mean, a lot of people don't know much about my background in terms of what I do outside of crypto, because I'm more of a traditional 9-to-5 tech guy. But one of the areas that I worked in a couple of years back was actually curating communities. I worked for a large telecom provider back then, and one of my specialty areas was around community creation, getting people engaged, getting brand advocates created. And I wasn't aware that you also had a social element to your platform, because I think that's really key. Because what you'll find generally is that your brand advocates aren't necessarily everybody else around. It's those who are specifically embedded in that ecosystem, supporting that ecosystem. And there is a concept actually in all forums of something that's called a super user. And super users, predominantly, they make up about 2 or 3% of your entire social community. And it's those guys that are driving it through. And the funny thing is that it happens for free. It's literally done because I want to feel part of something bigger. Yes, there's gamification that you put around it as well. It can be that some people chase the medals as well, and you need that, because ultimately, yes, we talk about a level playing field, but also within that level playing field, there is a hierarchy where you have super users, medal users, general stripes and all that stuff, and it's quite key. And crypto as a whole has that, I would say, but certainly when you then start breaking off into sub communities, whether it's for a protocol, whether it's for a platform, or whatever have you, once you start curating that type of super user, you'll find you'll have them they're there for life, because there are projects that I've invested in back in the tail end of 2018, and out of those projects, whilst they still have a Telegram community where people are talking, there are splinter communities that have actually gone off where there's only like 300 or 400 people, but when you go through it, the conversation that happens in there is actually a decent bit of conversation back and forth. It might some of it might be price talk, fine, but a lot of it is around education and sharing it back and forth. So it's interesting to hear that as well, and it's good to see that happening within crypto as well on a sub level rather than such a wide level actually. So
I think it's an important part of the space, right? And to carry that over, I think into product will just create that, like you said, super user, and this happens early on, already within our Telegram, it's been growing quite nicely, and I see that there's a few users you start seeing, they become really sticky, and they just come in and they start becoming your voice. It's amazing, just within, and these are individuals from all 4 corners of the world. It's not like, oh, this is a UK project and there's 5 guys from the UK that they actually probably know the founder, and that's why they're here supporting the project. It's not like this. It's just some, totally unconnected people that just turn up, they like the project, they get involved, and they start becoming your kind of like, spokespeople. So I think creating a space for that and continuing with that, once you have your product, is important. And no matter how far your product goes, right? Because suddenly you become really big, and then you kind of trim out your community, and it becomes difficult for them to reach. So you want to keep that door open and keep developing like that.
Well, look, Atif, thank you so much for today, because I think we could talk endlessly. We could easily go another hour, to be honest, but we need to draw the line somewhere.
I really appreciate that. It's a good call for you to bring this up and discuss and let us keep in touch. And what we'll do is, once our first version is ready, maybe we can come back with a preview version.
Always
we'll
up
try
for
to do something for you guys and show you guys an early preview.
Definitely.
Same way it goes for this kind of stuff as well, right? I guess it's about keeping your followers involved.
Yeah.
And giving them a little insight into Yop, and all the socials are there for you guys to see and come have a look at.
So just before we wrap up, last words. Where do people go to find out more about Yop?
Yeah, so all our socials are YOPFI, so YOPFI. So at YOPFI on Twitter, Telegram, LinkedIn, Medium. There are kind of 4 primary spaces. We have actually set up an Instagram page, and we'll see where that goes. But I think at the moment, primary efforts are on those 4 social platforms. So yeah, come join our community, as you say, and hopefully we can look after you guys and see how it goes.
Cheers. Well, thanks, Atif. All the best, and let's stay in touch. Speak to you later.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.